right, lovelies, let's get started. Today we are going to go over and continue on Friday's application of a nail form on the click finger tip. So you should have put this in storage as so, and that's how we will work with it today. Let's start by preparing tomorrow's nail. So you have a finger, your second finger, and you're putting a nail tip on. If you haven't already done so, mine doesn't click on all the way, but it's all right. I'll fix it tomorrow. I just need to hold tight for a second. Let's pretend this has a nail tip on here, and it's got length, and my client wants a coffin, okay? I don't have coffin nail tips, so I've got to make a coffin nail tip. How do you do that? Two options. If you have just a regular nail tip and you want to shape it as a coffin or anything else, I have to file down the shape. That's going to take, if I'm going to cut this much off, that's about the thickness of the file that I need to shave off. And that's a lot of dust, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of work to get that straight line. So instead, I'm going to use a straight blade nail clipper. Okay? Some people call these nail cutters. Nail clippers. And it's got a long blade. I'm going to take it and I'm going to shape this nail into a coffin form. So I'm going to come in at an angle from the sides, and I'm going to snip the sides off on both ends. The goal is to try to make it as even as possible. Now I'm just going to clip, one on the right, one on the left, and then that's it. I'm not cutting the length. Now if I look at my nail and one side is more angled than my other side, I have to understand that I need to work on angling my nail clipper as I'm cutting. But as I use that nail clipper, check that out. Clip, and I'm done. Now would I need to go back and shape this up a little bit more? Yeah, but I don't do this before the acrylic. I do this after the acrylic application. So if this was a fake nail tip that I glued on here, an extension, and it was a rectangular nail tip, but she wanted a stiletto, a dagger, a coffin, or something of the sort, that I would have to take a lot of bulk off the nail off, I could just clip it off. Some people will use the little scissors and cut with the scissors. If the scissor or the nail are curved, because it is plastic, it will kind of create this white line-ish or demarcation line because it bends the plastic. So just FYI. So that's one way people use this tool. Okay, we'll use it more later, but just prepping it for tomorrow. So put that off to the side. It's ready for tomorrow. All right. So when we have let me try to put this back in here. When we have a nail and a form and our C curve tool, can't pop it back in, it should be something of the sorts, right? It's cold over the weekend, so the sticker probably popped open. That's okay. When you have the C-shape tool, you want to circle rotate and unstick the tool from the sticker. For the most part, you should be able to do that and pull out the tool, okay? If you feel stickiness on your tool, that typically can be removed with either acetone or alcohol. It won't ruin the tool because it's metal, okay? Then what we want to do is we want to take at the bottom of the nail and we're going to pinch to remove the sticker off of the nail tip. Once it pops off, then you can undo the bib area and take the sticker off. The stickers are not reusable. Even if you put a sticker on and you mess up a little bit, just throw it away, get a new one. It's not even worth fighting it. It's like trying to undo two paper clips that are stuck together. Life's too short. Just toss them, get you a different one that's not stuck to something. Okay? Now, I did mine wrong, so hopefully yours doesn't look like mine, because if it does, it breaks a little bit more. But, and my nail doesn't stick sticky off, but whenever we're going through this, I want you to be fixing your nail as we have this conversation of what went wrong and why. So I do my nail wrong to teach you why those things happen. how to avoid them, and how to fix them if they can be fixed. Okay? The difference between a DIY nail tech that learned how to do nails at home in their bedroom on YouTube and a nail tech, a professional nail tech that went to school, paid attention, and got good grades is this part. If you are a professional nail tech, when you take your acrylic and you apply to almost perfection. Okay? There is no, oh, okay, I took the nail form off. Now let me look at my client's nails and, ooh, okay, there's a gap here. It's like dips down. There's like acrylic down here. There's acrylic on the bottom. There's bumpy. I gotta fix it. There's none of that. Because you're so professional, you're so good, you know all the foundations that when you pick up your acrylic, you're perfecting it as you go. Right? It's like Angel over there doing the haircut. When he does a buzz cut, right, of any sorts, he's perfecting the haircut. He's blending the lines across, up the top of the head. He doesn't have to cut the hair and then come back and look at it and, fix any mistakes, right? It's the difference. If you don't know foundations, which you're learning during these weeks, and you don't do it properly when you're done setting it, right, and it's nice and hard, now you go through, now you see all the mistakes, now I got to take time and fix it. So I'm taking time to fix my errors and not making more mess, because when you file, the dust is just everywhere. More importantly, and probably not important, but more of a point, is when you introduce the file to the finger, take your pinky and hold your file next to your pinky like this, like you're going to file the side wall of your nail. Put it right up there. You're going to hold your file from the bottom and you're going to put your pointer off to the opposite side of the nail. With this finger, you're going to push. You're going to push inward as you go up and down to file. Bless you. This is going to apply pressure. So I know I say this every year and girls look at me, students look at me like I'm crazy, but you're going to remember, and this is why I use this analogy. Okay. Think of a person that you hate. And you're going to grab their face and you're going to press their face against the concrete because y'all are in a fight. God forbid this is ever you, right? But you're pushing the face on the concrete. Okay? You really don't like that person. You're going to take her hair in her head and you're going to go sideways against the concrete, right? If you put a little bit of pressure, it's going to damage the skin and it's going to hurt and she's going to bleed, but it is not that bad. If you were like, and you're rubbing and you're pressing pressure against that concrete, what is your face going to look like? Messed up, right? So, same concept. This is the concrete. This is the face, okay? It's skin. So if I'm pressing, take your finger and just go up and down, but not on the nail. Put it on the skin. Go up and down. Do you feel it? You're like, ooh, that's rough. Imagine a face on concrete. Imagine what that would feel like. Okay? Now, you have etched your file, but if you didn't etch that file, that would have cut you for the most part if it's a brand new file. So take your finger and press down a little bit and continue to file. And you're like, oh, I gotta go slow because I know I'm going to cut myself. Well, when you're filing, you're doing this motion, right? You're like going to town. And you've got your arms on the table and you're going in there. It's not your physical feeling, so there's no nerves attached, so you can't feel when you cut your client, but they're going to jerk back when they feel it. Sorry, spit. Clients will come back to you if their nails look uneven, crooked, bumpy, not shiny, if it's on their cuticle, if they fall off, if they're chiclets, they'll come back to you for that. They will not come back to you if you cut them because you hurt them. Worst case scenario, this got some bacteria on it and you go into town and you cut the skin, bacteria infection, staph, chop finger off, chop hand off, they die. Worst case scenario, we've done case studies, right? So, professional nail tech will fix the nail as they create it, so there's no errors they got to go back and fix later. Non-professional nail tech will have errors and then have to go back and fix it, right? If you can understand that concept, you're 10 steps ahead of all the nail techs at home, okay? Super important to understand. So let's go through our mistakes. Again, where to find them, where to look for the mistakes, why they happen, how to fix them, and how to avoid them. All right, you've taken the form off, stickers in the trash, you've got your nail. I've created some mistakes to point out what you should look for in yours. If you have it, that's okay. You're learning. If you don't have it, fabulous. Keep doing what you're doing, okay? So first thing we do is we're going to look at the cuticle area. So like a book, we start from the top, work our way to the bottom. Take your fingers sideways. This is my acrylic brush, okay? I'm going to use it as my pointer as well. Take the finger, and this cuticle area is what you want to look at, right? From the bump on the brownish nail tip, that shouldn't be touched, it shouldn't be covered, it should be exposed, and it should be shiny. But from the base of that, if you take your finger and you swivel it like this whole section should be a ramp. Is that our Angel? Do you mind grabbing them, please? Thank you. So sorry. That should be a ramp. A wheelchair should be able to just roll right up without any issues. So if I take my brush, and the surface of the nail is the plane, and this is my angle, right? If I take my brush at a 45-degree angle, if I just place like that, it naturally makes a ramp, yeah? So when I'm applying when I put my bead down, and I'm pushing my bead, spreading it to the right and left, I've got to make sure that my brush is at a 45-degree angle, and that I am doing this motion, rotating my brush or my finger to make sure that it is a 45-degree angle ramp from side to side. It's got to be smooth, okay? If you don't have that, okay, that's okay. We're learning that it's wrong. So now I've got to introduce my file. So you saw your bump, right? It should be a ramp. Now we got to fix it. Don't fix it with the curved part of the file because it's harder to calculate. Always fix it with the straight part of the file because there's different types of files, okay? So what you're going to do, let me see if I can get this angle right. I've got my nail right in that, right there. I've got to go in and I got to file in that specific angle all the way around from side to side. Okay? Good luck, right? Because you've got to make that 45-degree angle. You couldn't make it with your brush. Now you got to make it with your file. Look how close to the cuticle you are. Right? I mean, take your finger and put that sucker right there. All right? Like, okay, now file. Now, people that do the drill, well, me and the drill don't. We're not friends. We'll talk about the drill later. So, okay, if you have a bump, it's okay. My nail pops off, so I got to hold it. But go ahead and very carefully, if you do have a bump, you got to fix it. Very carefully looking at the point of contact between the file and the nail. Look to see, using your finger, pressing down to shave off more product. Create that ramp. And also slightly remove that bump, and you have got to go side to side, slowly, carefully, very meticulously, because you don't want to touch the natural nail, and you definitely don't want to touch the skin. So then I made a mess, right, because it's dust particles and all things. I got to brush downwards. I hope I didn't kill my client and there's no blood. If there's blood, we'll talk about blood spills at a later time when we do drills, but there should be a ramp now, okay? Here's the other thing. Next thing we look at, the sides of the nails. So you want to look at it, it's a train track, right? These two lines right here are perfectly parallel, right? So you take the nail, take your file, okay? And we're going to smooth out. So let me put it on this side because this side's a whole lot better. Can you I'll do it this way because you can see it better. Can you see how chipped that looks? Is that straight? Absolutely not. What does this, so if you take your nail out even, if you put your file underneath like this and you see holes, I count 1, 2, probably 2.5, maybe 3. 3 beads. Flip it to the other side, place your file down. That's totally off, but I count 3. What am I looking for? I'm looking for ups and downs, peaks and valleys. When I've got those ups and downs, that tells me that I use 3 beads to apply. Why? Do you guys remember when we had that one nail on the Tammy Taylor and it was this rectangle, and then the smile line, it had those 2 points, the peaks, and we put the bead down and we're trying to push the acrylic into those 2 points? That technique comes in here. If I can't blend one bead into another and fill in all the gaps, I am gonna have gaps, and these are those gaps. Okay, so if you look on the side and you have those dips, that's okay. It just means it's telling you you need to practice on blending your beads together. So how do you fix that? Blend your beads together to avoid it. But you're going to take your nail and you're going to take the file, put the file on the side. First thing that I like to do is I put my file underneath to get rid of the bumps, like the ups and downs. Now, when I do that, I cannot put my file like this because I'm going to cut my client. I've got to hold it like so. So we're going to go ahead. I made this super thin, so I hope I don't break it. Okay, so now you see how I can place that under and it's pretty flat, okay? But now I need to look at the nail bird's eye view, take the file, come from the side. And when I come from the side, it also, look, it's kind of like there's a hole. There's not, it should be flat. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to carefully file in, pushing my finger for pressure to remove more of the acrylic off. And here's one thing I like to do. I like to keep my pinky and balance my pinky underneath my file. Because, and I wear gloves, but if I keep my pinky on here, if I can feel I'm cutting myself, I am definitely hurting my client. So the same pressure that I push in and push down on the client, I push on my pinky, and that's a great indicator of where I'm at pressure-wise. So as I'm doing this and I'm shaping my nail, and you can shape yours as you go, or as we go on here, see, now it's a lot better. Now it touches, right? Touches on the bottom or better. Here's what you need to look for when you're practicing. So these fingers, the tips, you can buy more tips from Amazon from the same brand or just click finger tip replacements. These are the fingertip replacements, right? You can buy them on Amazon, they're pretty cheap. When you're looking at your nail, when your practice finger, when you're done and you've gotten all the debris off, you want to pay attention to the skin. So take the nail off for a second once you're done filing and look at the skin, or look at the skin of your other finger, because we filed once or twice. And when you're filing, okay, and you're looking at it and it's got scratch marks everywhere, this is what your finger is telling you. This is what you can learn from it. You are cutting your client. If it looks like, you just like went to town with it, then what that is telling you is that you have a heavy hand and you are rough. And more than likely, you won't have clients because you're hurting them. And it shouldn't hurt to get your nails done. Just like it shouldn't hurt to get a haircut, right? It just shouldn't. So, pay attention to that skin of the finger so that you could figure out what you need to work on, okay? All right, so then we did this side. So now we're going to do the tip. So you're going to take the nail, you're going to take it from the bottom and put your thumb on the top because you don't want the nail to do this. Look, that right there, you're ripping the nail plate apart from the nail bed, and that hurts. Your nail should never hurt. So you're going to hold it for support. I'm hugging. We tend to hug ourselves, right? My armpits are really closed. Can't do that. Open your armpit, right? And you're going to come side to side. I cannot curve it, and I can't work like this, right? Side to side. And it's perpendicular, and I hope I don't break it because it's really thin in the middle. But you're going to make a square tip. Square tip means it's just flat. Okay? My butt cheek can't be more weight on one butt cheek than the other. I've got to be even. My feet should be feet on the ground. My chest shouldn't be resting on the table. I should be back. My shoulders should be back. My armpits should be open. And I'm working. Yes, I can lean on the table, but if you're leaning on the table and you're putting all your weight on there, you're going to have shoulder problems later. Okay? Next thing I want to do is I want to look at it like it's going to poke me in the eyeball. And what I want to see, if you take your tool, you put your tool under here, it should match this C shape. And if you put your tool right here and you don't have a C shape, you probably didn't have the C shape to start. Something was wrong with the application of the form. This wasn't on right. It was pointing down, it was pointing, something was off because the acrylic did not set appropriately. It should set, you should have a nice arch. Look at it like it's going to poke you in the eyeball, and you can take your file and come. Now, I always do this, I'm going to show you this way, with the flat part of the file because I can go side to side and I know where my file is at. If I do this way, I've got to curve my file because if I do it this way, I don't know where my file is at. So, flat side. So, I want to make sure that if I look at it from like tippy tip, it's going to poke my eyeballs, that it's even on both sides. That one side is not wider than the other, thinner or thicker. This nail tip, the thickness of this nail tip is too thin. So if your nail tip looks like my nail tip from here, that sucker's gonna break off. I mean, I can tell just from right here, it's too thin. It's almost transparent. If my client starts to do this, starts to type, starts to grab things, the nail is brittle, it's gonna break. Cannot be this thin. So sometimes you're afraid to make it chiclet nails. I'd rather it be thin than thick, but nails are going to break off on a client. The last thing we look at is the surface. So take the nail from the side and turn it side to side. Look at it like it's going to poke you in the eyeball and just kind of look at the surface. This particular nail has a dip. It goes down. It should not do that. It goes down and then it pops up. That's not good. It should be the opposite. It should have an almond shape. It should have a little peak here, and it should taper down to the tip. This for sure happened because that first bead wasn't enough. I'd stretched it too far down, and then my second bead was definitely not enough or too wet, and it didn't build up. It just flattened out. Okay? How to avoid that? More beads, less trying to cover one with the nail with one whole sweep. Doesn't matter if it takes you 10 nail beads, acrylic beads, as long as this doesn't happen. Okay, this line right here is because it was not blended properly, so now I got to file it off. Well, this is really thin, so now I got to fix that. How do you fix this? You can put more acrylic on top of this, but putting acrylic over acrylic in this, once you start filing, is never good because there's the debris in the middle. You always want to fix it before you start filing anything, okay? Because then that can pop off if it's too much debris in the middle. So from the top, you're going to hold the nail, okay? You're going to start like you read a book, just like we do buffer, from the top to the bottom, from the left to the right. Yes, the actual acrylic is going to kind of turn into a dullish type of color. You want to go slow. The amount of pressure that you push needs to be even and accurate. And you're buffing off any lines. So let me see if I can get lines. This last class period it's kind of hard to, but I think I got some this time. Okay, I did the whole surface. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but there's a darker blue spot. There's darker blue spot here, definitely where this disconnection is, and on the sides. That's an indication that I did not file that part. It should all look like buffed out, like opaque. Like not crystal clear window, but like clear like your kit. It's clear, but it's got a tinge of white in it. If you have bumps or dips and divots and your application is not smooth when you're tapping your acrylic and you're pushing around the acrylic too much, it's going to make an uneven surface. When there's an uneven surface, you're going to have those bumps and those divots, and when you run your finger over, you can feel it. It should be smooth. How do you fix that? Make sure you have enough acrylic. Don't try to take one huge bead and drag the whole bead down if you're not there yet. 10 beads to form the nail is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? From here, because we filed the surface of the nail, okay? We filed. we scratch the surface. So you're going to take your buffer, the softest side of your buffer. Granted, I know we've used it plenty. You're going to start from the top, work your way to the bottom, from left to right, and you're going to buff out all of those scratches. You're going to create a very fine dust. The whitish tinge that is on the surface of the nail is going to be a little bit less white. Always do the sides of the nail and the tippy tip. Always, always. I always like to do the bottom too, just to get rid of any edges. Very, very fine dust, finer than what you created with the file, and brush down. When you feel it, it's smooth. When you look at it, it looks softer. You don't have those, what I call cat scratches, over the surface of the nail anymore. It's smooth. Okay. Always, even when you do a pedicure and you're doing the file and you're getting all that gunk off of the skin, always go with a softer file or a buffer and smooth over, because that's going to remove all those scratch marks and it's going to buff the skin or buff the nail down. That'll give you a more polished look. If you don't, when you put clear over the top, you're going to see all those, I filed this way and I filed that way and I filed this way, and it's like cat scratches on the door. And that's it. If you still, after you did all that, and you still have not enough acrylic, and you still have holes and divots, and we need to practice on our application. So if your nail looks something like this at the end, it's not your filing that needs help necessarily, it's your application. Cool? That's what sets you apart from a good professional nail tech that knows foundations and one that learned at home on YouTube. Cool? Alright, what I want you to do is I want you to dust off your finger really well. After you're done all that, you're going to put your name on your finger if you haven't already. And you're going to leave your finger in the second period section on the table. One last thing I forgot to mention, if you look at the bottom of the nail, if there is acrylic between, if you cannot see the tip edge of the brown tip nail, that means acrylic got underneath the sticker. And that's not good, because then there's like, now you got to take that off. Well, if it's a curve and my file is flat, like how do I get in there and file that off? You have to use your drill. And the drills. We'll talk about drills later, but if at all possible, avoid using a drill. Questions? All right, we're going to go ahead. I'm done. That's all I have for you. You can finish buffing, filing that out. You can go to